Inside of the Kaaba was the Great Miftash, computer for the Mi stone formulas, which the Wu-Sabat Mutatalu, extraterrestrials called Gadadu, gods and angels mixed and drank or ate to prolong their physical life while on Mikab Taha, planet Earth. The sacred site or Kaaba cube in what they call Makkah, Mecca, protected in what they call Masjid al-Haram, the forbidden place of prostration, the sacred mosque called the House of Allah, God, who could be Enki or Enlil, even one of their Muskrahu, seeds or Sa'a'u, sons. They don't really realize why it was forbidden. Even today only nobles are allowed to enter inside the cube-shaped building in Mecca while all believers walk and run around it and kiss a damn blood-colored meteorite called the Black Stone. To kiss it is the same as what Eve was taught to drink of the Zamzam well or holy liquid. It is the symbol of the elixir of life. It even came over into the Christian religion as the Eucharist Holy Communion. To put bread as flesh in famam, mouth and drink damam, blood as wine, the same oral intake of liquid as was in the garden between Eve and the serpent, which is oral sex, an old ritual called the blessings. Why the Hebrew word used for bless, Hebrew Strong's number 1288, barak, the same in Arabic barak, bless, the true meaning is barak, kneel down. Kneel. All of the religious rituals of Mu'adamu Zamat, Adamite religions are traced to that act in the garden in Mecca. The formula was also for a time kept in the Holies of Holy in Jerusalem until it was moved back inside the Kaaba where it was originally. Why Muslims don't know whether the Kaaba was originally built in Adam's time or Abraham's time. The secret formula of that Mi stone or elixir of extended life was in the center, protected by the son of a lord of the gods, Yahweh Elohim or Enki and Hesat's son. Once the Garden of Eden was destroyed and the Wu-Sabat Mutatalu, extraterrestrials left Earth for Nibiru, you see the seed of Eve, the women's seed, started to die younger and younger. From Adam's death at age 930 Genesis 5:5. On to Abraham's death at age 175 Genesis 25:7. On to Moses' death at age 120 Deuteronomy 34:7, and on down through time to these days where 60 years is old age. It was all based on the tree of life, the elixir from the body fluids, or Tubal Cain. It was in the semen of the Wu-Sabat Mutatalu, extraterrestria is in their damn blood. As long as they partook of the mixture of the Mi stone or exchanged fluids, and Eve drank of Enki's son's fluids, Mata, sperm, which contained the Maf Kuzhat, Inbu, elixir of life eternal, and passed it on while breastfeeding. This is why the Mu'adamu Salal, Adamite race men make so much over the woman's Tadetwai, breasts. The Nagar Nadu, Negroid is not of the Kakas Nadu, Caucasoids, that is the Mukmam Salal, black race of Melanonite children are not of the Mulban Salal, white race of Barisus Kardu, leprous children, this is only about them, the Mu'adamu, Adamites, the woman's seed of 6,000 years from their first man Adam and woman Eve, Umukamamu, blacks had it and gave it up to them and must get it back. As you know, as Nuwapians read Genesis 3 with right knowledge, your Muslafu, ancestors Pam and Jaru, the overseers had it and it was in your DNA until you mixed with the cursed seed of the woman Eve and live in their Shabbat, image like them, so you're sick and die as they do under age 120. In Al-Ilam, the religion of Mohammedism, founded in the year 610 AD by an Arab-born male of Adamite seed named Ahmad ben Abdallah, later called Mustafa Muhammad al-Amin, born August 20, 570, died June 8, 632 AD in Arabia. He claimed to be a prophet of the same deity. Of the New Testament he called Al-Injil for the Evangel, and the Old Testament he called it Taurat for Torah, and Muslims claim they believe in these books before his own Al-Quran. You read that many places, such as Quran 2-4 and Quran 1-130-136, the same books, the same stories. So the Arabic for the Garden of Eden is the same as the Hebrew you see in Quran 973. Jannat Adin is the exact same word as Genesis 2:15, Gan Eden, Genesis 3:23, the same word as both Hebrew and Arabic. Yet, some Islamic writer and translators try to change the place from on Taha, earth, to up and above some place, when the fact is the same word from the book of Genesis, the Garden of Eden, the same religion of Abraham, Quran 2-130, the same story of Adam, Quran 2:31-36, and Eve, Cain and Abel. Yet some will always try to change Madat, words and meaning, while their Quran tells them Quran 10:94. Ask the Hebrew readers if you Arabic readers have any doubt or uncertainties. Not sure? Ask Hebrews for the facts, don't just change meanings. Quran 10:64. So the story in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, should remain the same in the new Adamic, Abrahamic sect called Mohammedism or Al-Ilam. And now that the Sumerian stone tablets have been uncovered with the complete story and Renanat, names and Waqwaq, time and places. Munwapu, Nuwapians of Wu-Nawap, this is the true story I know it for as Nin Gish Zita in Sumerian and Jehutwi, Tahuti or Thoth in Mikmat, Egypt. I was there. Jehutwi, Nin Gish Zita, is one of the 9 etheric beings who speak through my person, as well as Pa Nabab, Yaa-Nun and Galzu, Sumerian, for Hebrew Malki Tzedek, and in Arabic Al-Qadr or Malki Sadiq or Melchizedek to Renan. Name just 3 here who speak to you through my katat, body, and have over the years, when you ask questions, one of them step forward and use me as a vessel to speak to you. And my katat, body, has the mafkuz hat. Why so many stayed young around me until I was cut off from them? Now they are normal, and some become sick, and even some die. Look back over the Shamadat, years when I was with you, none of that existed. So, let me tell you of their enclosed garden of pleasures as you read in Genesis 3, verse 1 with facts. Now Nakash, Nin-Gish-Ziddah, Jehutwi son of Enki and Hesat was the wisest and most cunning more than any living of the Sauda outer field Havilah Sudan, Mizraim, Egypt, Cush, Ethiopia whom the Anuna Enki, Yahweh of the Elohim had yielded. Bared and he Nin-Gish-Ziddah said to the female Tt, Kawa, Eve did Anuna and Lil say you Tt, Kawa, Eve, and Adapa. Adam should not consume eat up, take in all there is to take in of that which will make you firm in your spine, backbone, helix that is to be found in the enclosure of pleasures delights. And the female Tt, Kawa, Eve said unto Nin-Gish-Ziddah, Nakash, Can is the wise one enchanter we Adapa and I are allowed to consume of that which would increase us to make us be able to be fruitful, procreate of and by our spine, helix in the enclosure of pleasures and delights. However, of that which will increase our spine helix which is in the middle cube-shaped building the Kaaba in the center of Mecca, the enclosure of Arabia Anuna and Lil and Ninurta and Nan-Nar of the Elohim gods had told Adapa Adam you should not consume of this one thing nor should you touch it or you will drop dead in that day between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. the hot part of that very day. And Nin-Gish-Ziddah said to the female Tt, Kawa, Eve that they the Elohim, gods, that is in Lil and his son Ninurta and other son Nan-Nar lied to Adapa, Adam you will not drop dead in this day if you consume of that which will increase you both physically and mentally called Namum or Num elixir. Because in Lil, Ninurta and Nan-Nar all know that in that 10 hours of the heat of the day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. if you consume of it after the act your third eye will open as well as your physical eyes will open and you will be transformed into Elohim gods right then knowing the good ones Dingir, Seraphim from the evil ones Ikaki, Cherubim. You will then know the formula to extend lives more than the 120 years which was given by your telomeres in your chromosomes. The telomeres are located at the ends of the chromosomes which have a chain that rejuvenates the life of your Syakat cells. You will know all they know and even see them for the evil they are to humanoids. Munwapu, Nuwapians of Wu-Nawap. Now you can understand the true story of the garden and why some Elohim did not want them to learn the secret knowledge of who is good and who is evil and how to extend their lives longer than the 120 years. Genesis 6:3 As the gods or lords had 1,000 years for each one earth Zamet, day. And because Nin-Gish-Ziddah introduced Eve to the secret elixir of life his own mafkuz had, liquid gold and showed her the cinema projected in 4D by the Redmi stone of lust and pleasure she became incited, stimulated sexually he by showing her the Hindu arousal religious rituals of the Kama Sutra and the Tantric arts to attain ecstasy and gave her the poppy seed. She opened up to him and they had all kinds of intense overwhelming passionate sex, and her divine spot, G-spot was activated. Nin-Gish-Ziddah taught her the art of oral sex and exchange of body fluids. Once she drank of his mafkuz hat she glowed and shinned and transfigured into an Elohim her eyes were opened she was a goddess and she lived for 1,000 years, she ejaculated. And she taught Adam, she was a Hindu goddess and nun and he became a Hindu priest, a monk. They studied and lived by the Tantra and the Kama Sutra. Their symbol was the swastika. The Mi stones were like laser discs and could project Shabbat images, Lawanat, colors and sounds in 4D. So Nin-Gish-Ziddah taught them the Hindu religion and that became the Maya Damu Salal, Adamite race first religion. All others they practice today come from it. The name Christ is from Krishna, the incarnation of Vishnu, a Hindu deity who took human form, and the Christian cross symbol is from the swastika, symbol of well-being or healing, Sanskrit, svasht, well-being. And they lived much longer than the prescribed 120 years. And Munwapu, Nuwapians of Wu-Nuwap, when Enlil found out what Enki's son Nin-Gish-Ziddah did he called it the original sin, for a god to have Janus, sex with a human animal as he saw them. You see Genesis 3:7-13 he was angered at them and cursed them. Genesis 3:14-21. And Genesis 3:22-24 he made them get out of Mecca and move further eastward across Arabia to Eridu now called Kuwait. And Enlil put his Ikaki or cherubim to watch over them. Genesis 3:14-21. Yet, Enlil's own son Nanner, Sin was attracted to Tt, Kawa, Eve's sexual skills she learnt from the Redmi stone. And he raped her and she birthed a son by him called Cain. Genesis 4:1 named such because Enlil's son Nan-Nar was jealous of Adapa, Adam now that he was a god also so his son was named Kana, jealous Quana, Hebrew Strong's number 7067, envy, jealous became Cain, Hebrew Strong's number 7014, the same. Nuwapians, most look over this when they read Genesis 4:1 Adam knew Eve so he had sex. Yet, we know that from Genesis 1:28 they were having sex plus she had oral sex with Nin-Gish Ziddah the serpent in the garden. Now you read Eve, Adam's woman and she gave birth and now it says bear Cain and she said to Adam, I Eve have gotten a male child from the Yahweh. Living one or Lord. So she got this one Cain and his twin sister from Nan Nar called in Hebrew Strong's number 2403, Kata or Sin Genesis 4:7. This is why females have toothed twi, breasts to feed the twins. So, Adam was not Cain's father. Cain's father was Kata, Nanar called Sin, Sing in Akkadian. He became father of the Muknyanu, Cainites who became Enochites from the land of fallen angels, land of Nod Genesis 4:16-24 he was of the seed of a Muckler, killer so he killed his half-brother Abel. As you read in Genesis 4:3-8, he killed him. Abel was Adam and Eve's son with also a twin sister. Nuwapians as you see in the present-day Bible and Quran they don't mention the twin sisters yet in the uncovered scrolls or Dead Sea Scrolls the twin sisters are named as well as in Islamic history, twins are mentioned. As all other mammals, the female breastfeeds her young and she births the amount of a litter based in her mammary glands, breasts, if healthy. So Ashahu, females of the Mamanu Sanafu, human species have toothed twi, breasts to feed the Kared twi, 2 children to be born, this in time changed to 1 Kared. Child as she weakened over time and it was always twins, a Saw a Tat, daughter and a Saw, son in that order. So as you read of Cain and Abel in the book of Genesis chapter 4 in the Quran they are not mentioned by Renan, name yet in Mohammedism stories, records they give their names as Kaabel, Cain and Hupel, Abel as you see it changed from the original Hebrew, so the meaning would not be recognized by their followers as to show who Cain's real Muldad, father was. Yet, the story is found in the Quran with slight changes Quran 5:27-32 and in Islamic records each of them was born with a twin sister. It states in Tafsiru Bayzawi, each of them being born with a twin sister, Adam by Allah God's direction ordered Cain to marry Abel's twin sister and Abel to marry Cain's but Cain refused they were then ordered to submit the questions by making a sacrifice and Cain offered a sheaf of the very worst of his corn, while Abel offered the best fatted lamb of his flock. So you see Sawab, truth mixed with legends in this case. Truth is they both had twin sisters and Cain was a tiller of the ground and Abel was a keeper of sheep Genesis 4:2, and she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. What is overlooked in both Bible and Quranic stories is this one important fact that should have been asked by all who accept the story of Cain and Abel and what they were given to do or work at. When you read Genesis 1:29 look what it says here, according to the Bible and Quran there is no one else on the Mikab Taha, planet Earth yet, just Adam and his wife and the gods and or angelic beings who they claim are not in a physical form. So now you read Genesis 1:29-30 their meat or flesh to eat was to only be of herb-bearing seed, thawak, fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be meat. All things to eat are only green herbs for meat, flesh. That is very clear that at this point in their lives they were to be herbivorous and not carnivorous, they were not to eat meat of any kind, that is what it states by their Elohim gods. So now Munwapu, Nuwapians of Wu Nawap I take you back to Genesis 4:2, and she Eve again birthed his Cain brother Abel. Now look at this close Nuwapians, Abel was a keeper of sheep, that is, he raised meat, animals, flesh. Now if Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel as well as their twin sisters were the only humanoids on earth at that time as the Bible and Quran teach and people of Abraham's religion that is, 1. Mosesism, 2. Jesusism, and 3. Mohammedism. Believe their own holy books then you must ask them this Manwapu, Nuwapians, for whom were the sheep that Abel was keeping, being kept? If Adam, Eve, Cain and Abel were not to eat any flesh, that is herbivorous not flesh eater. For who is this meat? And that's very clear in Genesis 4:4 their Yahweh Lord who respected Abel for the offering of flesh meat. Their Yahweh Lord was in fact a carnivorous meat eater, flesh eater of the offspring sacrifices as you can clearly read in Bible Genesis 18:1-8 where this Yahweh Lord sat with Abraham with 2 angels and they did eat a calf. Genesis 18:8 and he took butter, and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat, and through the book of their own laws, Leviticus chapters 1-10 the offerings, oblations and sacrifices was eaten by their Lord Yahweh. These gods of Bible and Quran were flesh eaters, blood drinkers and loved the sweet smell of cooking flesh savor. That is clear the meat was not raised for Adam, Eve, Cain or Abel, it was raised to be eaten by their gods, the Elohim. And that Cain was not Adam's son, he was the son of Kata, Nanar called Sin. And in Genesis 4:4-5 Cain was warned by Enki not his brother Enlil who both took human form so they were both El and Yahweh or Jah as singles and Elohim as plurals for God as you read in Psalm 82 1-8 all children of Anu who is Elyon El in the Bible Genesis 14:18, and Melchizedek king of Salem brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High, Elyon, Hebrew Strong's 59:45 God, El, Hebrew Strong's 410. And Al-Ali or Al-Allah in Quran or the Most High Quran 87:1-19 he as their father was in Quran Rabbika Al-Ali, the Most High Lord so the Arabic Quran uses Rab for the Hebrew Torah Yahweh the same for Lord, Sustainers, Master. So Enki, a Yahweh, and Enlil, a Yahweh, also he was called Baal one over flock, Baal in Hebrew and Arabic Baal the same word again. And yes Baal is found in the Arabic Quran 37-125 as Lord, mistranslated, so Rab is Yahweh and Baal is Yahweh and both are Elohim or single El or Allah, plural Alihat, Allahs, gods, deities. These are flesh-eating extraterrestrials who came to Earth and made the Adamite race 6,000 years ago back from 2000 AD. So the Lord Enki Genesis 4:4-7 came to Cain to warn him of his fallen fatar, nature that he had Nephilim blood, why it says in Genesis 4:6 and the Lord, Enki, said unto the jealous one Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance transforming into a Hebrew Strong's number 5303-5308, Nephilim, fallen angel. He warned him of his father's sin in the next verse number 7 in Hebrew you see Kata Hebrew Strong's number 2402-2403 for sin. Kata means the one you sacrifice to, so this sin or Kata, his father is waiting at the gateway door to take him away from Enki and Adam and his mother Eve. As you can read Genesis 4:7, if thou, Cain, doest well, good, right, choice, use your will powers of the good side of yourself, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, good, sin, Kata the one you sacrifice to Enlil's son Nan-Nar, your father, hath at the door, opening way, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. If you give into your Nephilim, fall in one side he will take you and make you a leader of people of your own Cainites. As you read on you see Cain made the choice to kill his half-brother. It was in his fatar, nature and he passed it on to his offspring seed as you read in Genesis 4:8-14 and he was driven out to join the Ikaki, cherubim who were killers as you see Genesis 3:24 with flaming swords. And Cain feared them killing him Genesis 4:14 he left for the land of fallen wanderers, those who were cast down to earth for the original sins also having sex with humans, in the land of Nod Genesis 4:16 and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. He had a son named Enoch, his son's son Jubal kept the record of Jubilee Genesis 4:21 and his brother's name was Jubal, he was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. A psalmist he was Jubal his Sefer, book or Sajal, record the book of Jubilee now found and translated which tells a more complete story of Genesis than in the present Bible and Quran. And Genesis 4:18-24 tells you his offspring were also killers as Lamech was of his seed and like him he slew, that is murdered, killed a young man, a male Hebrew Strong's number 376-ish. So then in place of Abel, Adam and Eve had another son genetically born with no twin sister, he was only to replace Abel Genesis 4:25. He was called Seth and the Elohim were pleased of this replacement and Eve said the Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Abel whom Cain slew. Note she did not say she got this one from the Lord as in Genesis 4:1. And this son Seth also had a son Enos one made to forget his family's past and all about the other Elohim. He was to have only one Yahweh, the Enosites, a new Wu-Sabat tribe was born of him. Unlike the others Seth was made not in the image of likeness of the Elohim. He was made in the likeness and image of his father Adam Genesis 5:3 and lost his reptilian glowing outer skin. And Adam lived 930 years Genesis 5:5 and all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Yet Seth only lived 912 Genesis 5:8 and Enos only lived 905 Genesis 5:11. You see it drop then pick up again with Enos' son Canaan he lived 910 years Genesis 5:14, so the divine Yakazat, genes rise and fall as Canaan's son Mahalaleel lived 895 years his son Jared lived 962 years then his son Enoch met back up with the Elohim again as you see in Genesis 5:21-24 the Elohim had returned, the gods and their sons came back to earth and found that Enoch only would live 365 years and the elixir in the form of herbs were not on earth any longer only in Nibiru, that which traverses the sky. So at age 365 they abducted Enoch yet not before they gave him some elixir from Nibiru and his son Methuselah lived almost that 1,000 years Genesis 5:27 and all the days of Methuselah were 960 and 9 years, and he died. He lived 969 years because of his father Enoch, who wrote the records or scroll, now the Book of Enoch, telling the story of the fallen watchers and Adam and Eve's offspring, the Enochites. So this son Methuselah lived the longest of all Mu-Adamu, Adamites. Yet, again it began to drop, as you see in Methuselah's son Lamech. He only lived 777 years, and he was the father of Zayasutra, Noah in the Bible and Quran. From Noah on it dropped again. He died at age 950, Genesis 9:29. Yet, back in Genesis 6:1-5 you see that those Elohim and their sons who was supposed to watch over the daughters of Enochites, came and took some, Gasuba, raped humanoid women and birthed a new seed from Nephilim, fallen ones, the Gibborim, Genesis 6:5. This new seed was not only forgetful as Enochites, they were wicked and evil as Nephilim, fallen ones you find in the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilee. Chapter 7, and all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds, and beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. Then thy earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Chapter 5:1-3, and it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of God saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bare unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth, all of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. And God looked upon the earth, and behold it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. They were cannibals, they ate bashar, human flesh of their own Kardu, children and other people on earth. In the book of Enoch, 1 Enoch 7:1-14, 1 Enoch 6:7-10, 1 Enoch 9:5-14, Enoch 15:8-12, 1 Enoch 10:12-13, and 18-20, and the book of Jubal or Jubilee 5:1-10, Jubilee 4:15. These are their own Sajalat records, and you will find in the Bible how the Hebrews, the Israelite seeds of the women, the Mu-Adamu, Adamite, the Muknyanu, Cainites, the Mushiathu, Sethites, the Noahites, the Canaanites, the Edomites, all of this seed of Adam and Eve, Nan-Nar and Nephilim and Gibborim were carnivorous. They loved to katul, kill and eat jasad, flesh, meat, even human beings, as the original cannibals. Look close at these Bible quotes. Again, who is this? You will see the Mu-Adamu Salal, Adamite race, are human beast eating each other's children and other human flesh like their God, Lord, angels, Genesis 18:1-8, Leviticus 10:12-14, Ezekiel 5:10, Leviticus 6:14-23, Deuteronomy 28:53, 2 Kings 6:29, Jeremiah 19:9, Lamentations 2:20, Lamentations 4:10, Leviticus 26:33, Leviticus 32:17. They sacrificed to devils, Shad, Leviticus 17:7. They sacrificed to devils, Goatman, Pan, Baphomet. Their gods eat and ate flesh, even human flesh. When they return they will eat them again, Revelation 19:11-21. Revelation 19:18, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. Their gods, Lord of lords, kings of kings, or kinsmen of their own kindred will return to abduct, some rapture and eat others. As you have just read, this race of Adamites, the ruddy, fair-skinned or Muldan Salal, white race, was made 6,000 years ago by Wu-Sabat Mother Talu, extraterrestrials who used some of their own DNA and later mixed and included other creatures to make hybrid of them from the 1. Simian's baboon, mandrill, 2. Canine wolf, dog, and 3. Porcine boar, pig. And the traits of each are found in them both on the inside by their heathenistic fatar ad, natures and outer physical characteristics and appearance.